Hey moms, welcome to the Gather Moms podcast. My name is Kate.
And I'm Rebecca. We've created this space just for you because we're both moms and we get you.
Yes, we believe there truly ain't no hood like the motherhood, and we need to be in this together. We also believe we can't mom well without Jesus, so you're going to hear us talk about him too.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Gather Moms and make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
All right, mamas, let's jump in.
Hey moms, welcome to episode 54 of the Gather Moms podcast. And we are so excited to be in the month of No Prep November.
That's right.
Hopefully you are taking this to heart in your own homes and not doing any laundry or cooking. Said, sorry, hun. The girls on the Gather podcast says it was No Prep November, so I'm out for the month. Woo! Listen, I know you're secretly shopping online, so it's fine. You are getting stuff done.
Yeah.
But we wanted to just do some real talk. So we've had so much fun with you the past couple episodes, just like literally talking about whatever comes to our mind.
Yes, it's been glorious.
But for this episode, we decided to reach out to you guys, and I think we titled it on social media like send help or mom needs help. Just what do you need help with? What are some things in your life with momming and kids that you're like, I would just love to know what another mom does?
Yeah.
Because again, like we always say, there's no one right answer.
I think that's the bottom line of this. Let's make that very clear. You know, we're going to give our opinions and stuff and our thoughts, but there is no one right answer. And there's not even the same right answer for one kid to the other kid, you know, in your own house.
Yes. And you have to remember that just because another mom makes it work in her house does not mean that it's guaranteed to work in your house.
Yes.
So, you know, it's between you and the Holy Spirit going, what can I do for this child? And I think it's great for us to get advice from other moms because honestly, when other moms tell me what they do, I'm like, oh, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So it's really good to get that. But just know, take what we say and implement what you can. But if it doesn't work, then we're so sorry.
We're not liable. We need to get them a sign of release. Well, when we put this out there, you know, I was thinking that moms would be like, you know, my kid is not keeping their diaper on, you know, and I'm like, I have experience there. I can help you with that. Like, I was hoping for some like easy, lighthearted things. And Becca, we were getting all these responses, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, how do we tackle this? So just to be honest with you guys, what she's saying is we're going to give our feedback.
Don't you feel like it means that they really trust us? They're like, ooh.
Well,
they
are they
have something to say about
I think
this.
they're so desperate that they're like, you know what? I will just even give these girls a try, you know?
Thank you for entrusting us with this.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to read like straight from what you guys wrote and just tell you what we think. And one of the ones that really jumped out at me was one of our mamas asked about when your kid kind of starts to get their own mind and so they have their own ideas versus talking back to you because they don't like your ideas and like how to balance that.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is the first thing I thought is pick your time to talk to them. I think one of the biggest mistakes that moms make is we try to talk to our kids about issues on our time and not their time.
Okay.
And so sometimes, you know, we've waited all day to talk to them because they've been at school. And so they get in the car from school or they come in the door from school and we're like, hey, I got an email today that you got a 76 on your whatever assignment. What are you not doing? That is not the best time to talk to your teenager.
Yeah.
Like they have just, like for one of my kids, he has just socialed himself out for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And when he comes home, he has got to go in the hole for a little bit to kind of get himself back together. And so I think sometimes as moms, when we're trying to press down on these hard issues with our kids, we're choosing times that they're tired, that they've talked it out already, that they're not in the best mind. And I think about myself, like, I don't know if you've ever done this with your spouse, but like you start a conversation with them and you immediately know this was not a good time.
Uh-huh.
And instead of backing out, you like push
Stay
harder.
with it. Yes.
And then it turns into a full-blown fight.
Yeah.
But we never think about this with our kids. It's
That's
the
good.
same with them, that sometimes when we try to talk about stuff with them, we need to remember, you know what? I need to choose a time where they're well-fed and well-rested and have the margin to talk about this.
Yeah.
And then I think in those moments, you want your kid to think on their own. You want to help them come to those answers themselves. So don't be the kind of parent that's just telling them this is what we're going to do, although there are times for that. But get some feedback from them. What do you think about what I said? Would you change this? Would you do it any differently?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I like your idea, but I'm not fully there. So can we find a place where we meet in the middle on this? And you do something and I do something. That's how I would approach it.
I like that. I think that's really good because I think that looks more like a conversation than control. I feel very comfortable when I'm in control, when I can control everyone's behavior. And so me now having this 13-year-old and having to give him a little more freedom to think on his own, to come to his own conclusions. I think that is something that my parents actually did really well, was they gave me a long leash and they let me come to my own conclusions about things. And that gave me freedom. I think there were other families that I saw where their parents were so helicoptery and always in their space, in their thoughts, controlling their conversations, that those kids, they didn't have a chance to kind of figure out things on their own. And so then when they got outside of their parents' control, they were not ready to be able to handle those things. So, I just feel like I this is a lesson that I'm learning right now, is trying to pull my hands off a little bit and let this child figure out some things. And then you're right, approach them at the right time, not necessarily like in the moment.
Right. When everybody's heated and upset. Yep.
Yeah. 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 That's great. So I really liked, one mom said that she wanted help with being consistent with praying with our kids. And, that kind of stuck out to me because I think we all struggle with this. I don't know about you, but I go through seasons where I am more consistent. And then I have seasons where I don't know if I'm just tired or what, but it just kind of falls off the radar. And so I think for me, with praying with my kids, it works for me to go ahead and have that into a system that I already have in place. So just my advice would be to pray with them in a place where you guys are already doing something together. So whether it's at nighttime when you're tucking them into bed, just have prayer time as something that you're doing there. Sometimes I will tuck a kid in and walk out of the room and I hear the Holy Spirit say, go back and pray over that kid, And so for me, that is when I'm consistent, is tucking the kids in. That is when I pray for them. But talking to other moms, I've heard them say that on the way to school in the morning, when they're all in the car, they know that, when they pass a certain point on the trip to the school, somebody starts the prayer time, and I just think that is so good to just already to do something where you already are doing something, or we already have a system in place where you guys are together.
Well, and I think it's important to say it feels awkward at first.
Yeah.
Like for me, it feels really awkward with teenagers in the car to go, hey, let's pray about that, you know? And I'm a believer,
Sure.
Like, we're church people. But
sure.
I just don't worry about what it feels like in the moment.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just say the prayer, encourage your kid to pray. For me, I think sometimes I set too hefty of spiritual goals for myself with my kids. And I'm like, we're going to pray together 7 times a week.
Yeah.
And then when I don't do any of them, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible mom. Maybe just once.
Yeah.
Like maybe just decide next week, I'm going to pray 1 time with each kid by themselves.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it like a good one.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in your life? What can I pray about? What do you want to pray about? Instead of maybe setting some goal where you're like, okay, every day in the car before school, and then you forget.
Sure.
Don't worry about that. Do what you can, but maybe start small with like 1 time next week or 2 times next week, or we're going to start praying together at dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't pray together as a family before you eat. And maybe you don't eat together that often because you're so busy.
Sure.
So the next time we're all at the dinner table, instead of just going, thank you, God, for our food, we're actually going to pray about, hey, is there anything big we could pray about before we eat tonight?
Love that. Love that. And if you're like me, it helps me to set a reminder. So Jeremy and I went through a period. We've actually fallen out of this, but we felt very convicted to be praying together every night. So I had an alarm go off on my phone every night at 9:00 that said, pray with Jeremy. So we would, when that went off, it reminded us to stop and pray together.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, so that worked really well. And I think like what you're saying in the car, whenever we see an ambulance or something like that, I'll ask a kid in the car, hey, can you pray for that family? And you're right, at first, sometimes it is kind of awkward. But now that's become a trigger for them. When they see someone hurt or needing help, they go, hey, can we pray for that? And I love that.
I love that too.
But it took time to get to that place.
Yes. Okay, another one of our mamas wrote in and said she wants to make some time for herself, but she's always feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
And we actually got to do this at our mom event where we did a whole breakout session on mom guilt. Yeah. And I was scrolling social media the other day and found this quote that I wanted to just share. So, Kate, I want your thoughts on this. It says, moms will always feel guilt. The trick is not to swim around in it, but instead to swim right through it. We just have to, or it'll find a way to drown us.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that guilt is always kind of looming, right? I guess that's
Agreed.
what that's saying.
Yeah.
And we have to find a way to figure out how to keep going.
Yeah.
Even when it feels like we aren't doing things right or we're questioning.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about in that breakout was like, we are guilty.
Okay.
Like, we all are.
Sure.
We're not perfect people. We're not perfect moms.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go back to the gospel, we're sinners.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to question whether or not we're guilty, just claim it. I'm guilty.
Okay.
I haven't done everything right.
Well, and that's different than shame,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Shame is when the enemy makes you feel like who you are as a person is not good enough.
Right.
Versus, I just made a poor choice there.
Yes.
Yes.
That's so good. I think that's so good because then we can say, okay, we all feel guilty because none of us are doing it perfect.
Exactly.
But do not fall into shame about it and let that claim a lie over you, you know, because that's where we really start to drown.
Exactly. And so I think as moms, when you feel that sense in yourself where you're like, I just need time by myself, or I just need to go off and spend, 20 minutes alone, or get a pedicure, or take a nap, and you start to feel that guilt, like, oh, I could be doing all these other things right now. You know what? We're not perfect people. But if in that moment you feel like that would help you to come out of that situation with a better mindset, then go do it. Go take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And just know that with our kids, we're going to make mistakes. I'm going to forget stuff with them. I'm going to make poor choices sometimes that I thought were good for them, but weren't good for them.
Yeah.
I just fess up and say, I'm sorry. Next time, we're going to make a different choice. Or I'm sorry I overreacted or got angry. Don't let that guilt drown you. Claim it in that moment and say, you're right. I could have done a better job.
That's good.
And then just get back up and keep going. I love what it said about just swim through it.
Yeah.
Swim through it. Because I do think that our God provides the grace and the strength for those moments when we do feel so overcome and so weak. And if we allow ourselves to sit in that, the enemy he's going to try and tell you that you're a bad mom and that you never deserve to have kids and you never do anything right. Those are lies from the enemy.
Yeah.
So claim what you know to be true. God, I'm a sinner, but I am saved by grace. And through your Holy Spirit, I have the power to be the mom I'm supposed to be to these kids.
And I think that time for yourself is important for you to be able to hear those truths.
Agreed.
Because when we're in the battle with the kids constantly, it is hard to have those moments where we can pull away and hear God remind us of what is true.
Yes.
I hate that self-care or time for yourself gets a bad rap because I am so curious about the evolution of this whole self-care thing,
Yes.
But it's okay for you to go for a walk.
Yes.
It's okay for you to go grab a cup of coffee by yourself and sit in Starbucks and journal. And, those things are okay. And it's actually good. It's not, in my opinion, with my children, it is not healthy for me to be with them all the time and for me to be all things to them.
Right.
They need to be able to figure out how to get what they need without me being there. I'm not doing any favors for them by creating codependency where they need me for everything.
Correct. Yes. And they need to see that you're able to choose yourself because, guys, they're going to grow up to be moms and dads one day.
Yeah.
And they have to be able to choose that for themselves one day. So when we show them that by example, mom needs to step out for a few minutes and take some time for herself. I think in the long run, it actually teaches them a life skill.
Perfect. I love that so much. Okay, so I had a couple come in about homework, and I want to read these two. One says, yes to the homework. We are only at 3rd grade, but we argue about it all the time. Just to get the kid to do it and give it the effort. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She said, just do it, kid, and give it effort. You will be done so much faster if you do it. And then another mom said, homework, we fight about getting it done. Then when she does get it done, it's poor quality. Mm-hmm. This is so interesting for me to think about with homework. I think my answer here may not be popular, but I think there's a part of this where you, in some ways, let your kid fail a little bit in this area.
I agree.
And let them experience the natural consequences of what happens when they don't do their homework, and that they may have punishments at school and then they may have punishments at home. But I hate it when we get tangled up with our kids and it's so exhausting trying to get them to do these things that there is some block for them there. And whatever motivation you're trying to give for them to get it done, it's just not getting it done.
Yes. We had an instance with my oldest the other day where he turned in a project that looked amazing and he had not read the instructions. And so he did not follow what the teacher had asked him to do. She counted off 20 points. And he was like, Mom, it's not fair. I did my best work. And I said, I trust that you did. But she gave you specific instructions. And if she lets you get away with it, then the other kids too. So yes, it's not fair, but guess what? This is a great learning experience. Next time you're going to read it more fully.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and listen, there's a lot of ways that you can go about homework. I mean, if we're going to be lighthearted about this, you can give the carrot or the stick, So if that kid's supposed to be sitting there doing their homework and they're not, just shoot them with a Nerf gun.
That's tweetable. Is it the carrot or the stick?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, whatever it takes. And for some kids, I have a kid that is highly motivated by extrinsic rewards.
Oh, God, what is extrinsic? What is that word?
Well, okay, so an intrinsic reward is like when you do it and you feel good.
Okay.
You're internally motivated.
Okay.
Okay, extrinsic rewards are when you're externally motivated. So, like, you tell this kid, okay, you get this homework done in 10 minutes, you get a full Snickers bar or something. Like you give them
definitely an
prizes.
extrinsic learner. Yes.
Yeah.
Give me all the gifts.
Yeah. So, I think I love the book. I read Love and Logic when my first kid was young. I really like that idea because I think it helps you be creative about thinking about your children and their consequences, that we want natural consequences to their choices. And for me, the most natural consequence for them not doing their homework is that they're going to get a bad grade in class. And, it's okay. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves for them to make all A's, And, oh gosh, I know this is hard to say, but it's okay for a kid in elementary and middle, to not get all A's. And
listen,
even when they get to high school.
I was just thinking that, like, the threshold for pain in elementary school is low.
Yeah.
Like, listen, it's third grade.
Yeah.
If he's got to get a C, it's not going on his forever record. Colleges are not looking at that,
Yeah.
I do understand in high school when it's the GPA and it starts to become really important. But seriously, when they can fail and it not be as bad because it's third, fourth, fifth grade, let them learn through some natural consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great.
Okay. We also had several mamas write in and have some questions about cell phones and social media.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
I do not have all the answers for this. And really, Kate and I are in the thresholds right now of figuring this out with our own kids.
Yeah.
But something that my husband says all the time, he was a youth pastor for 20 years, and he says all the time is say no as long as you can. Mm-hmm. Because once you say yes, you're saying you're going to have to say no to 100 more things. So think about this with me. Like, once you say yes to giving your kid a cell phone, then you have, can I get this app? Can I download this game? Can I text a friend? Can I get their number? So do you see how by saying that one yes, you have to say like 1,000 no's?
Yeah.
Versus just saying, no, it's not time for a phone. And guess what? I don't have to answer any more questions.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I just said no. So I think one of the things that I would encourage moms to is say no as long as you can.
Yes.
As long as you can, as long as your kid is not asking about it, don't ask them, hey, when would you like a cell phone?
Uh-huh.
Just say no as long as you can, because as soon as you say yes, it opens up a whole nother room of things that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And then once you say yes with the understanding, especially with like technology stuff like phones, this is my phone. I'm just letting you borrow it.
Yeah.
Like, you never give that to them with the understanding that this is yours.
Yeah.
Because they're not ready to have that kind of responsibility. So this is my phone, and I'm going to let you use it. And the more that they show you they're responsible with that, the more ownership you can give them.
Cool.
And so as long as you are the owner of that phone, you get to decide what goes on it, whose number goes in it, how often they get to use it. So I would say one of the things is definitely say no as long as you can, and then remind them that you are still in control of this item.
I love that. So I have heard Greg teach on that years ago. And so that was something that we held on to, say no as long as you can. And so the way that plays out for us, my kids have hand-me-down phones from their grandparents, that they like watch Netflix on, and they have messenger kids, but neither of those kids have access to web. They don't have access to social media, and then we track everything that's happening on their phone, and we have protective they have QStudio on their phones.
There's so many things that you can download and have for your child's technology where you can read all their text messages and figure out what they're Googling and what kind of websites they've been to. So if you're handing them a device and you have none of that on there, you are making a foolish choice as a parent.
Yeah. And the other thing with Apple phones, they actually have a lot of good protection set in. You can Google that, Mama, and you can find out how to go in and shut everything down on their phone so that they just don't have access to it. For us, I think something else I've heard you say is never give them an age. Or,
yes.
Don't put a date. Or did Susan C. say that? Maybe
No,
both of y'all have said it.
For dating and for phones. There's no when you turn 16.
Yeah.
Well, what if they're an immature 16-year-old?
Right.
And you've just walked yourself into a corner.
Right.
Yeah, there is no age.
Right. So we don't want to say, okay, when you're a freshman in high school, you get this. Well, no, we'll see. And I think it's hard, I think some of the questions that we had, because we had several about this, and some people were saying it's hard because we feel like we're the only family who's the holdout, What do you have to say to that?
You're not.
Yeah.
I know it feels that way. But you're not. And listen, I tell my kids all the time, if I am the very last parent in America to give you this, then guess what? God's put an extra jewel in my crown. You're doing it. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Like don't take that as a knock. Take that as yes, this was what was right for our family.
Yeah.
High five to you.
Yeah. So I ran into a mom. She has mentored me. I've heard her speak. She's so wise. And I ran into her recently and reminded me something that she said, because she told us in a message when she talked that her kids never had social media all through high school. And she said, they're great. They turned out great. They still have lots of friends. They still, they haven't missed out on anything. And that was so encouraging for me, because you do feel the pressure of oh gosh, what if they're missing out? No, they're not missing out. They're okay.
That's what I was going to say. Like we're just dabbling in social media with our oldest, and I have already seen the drastic pitfalls. There is so much that goes on social media that even if you're a parent that's watching very closely, you're going to miss.
Yeah.
You're going to miss some of the
For
stuff.
sure.
And the weight that it puts on the shoulders of a teenager that's trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And trying to fight some battles that when we were growing up, we got to go home and get a break from.
Yes.
They never get a break from them on social media.
Yeah.
So as much as you think they need this to be popular, they need this to have friends, they need this for school, they need this for sports, they don't need it.
Yeah. Well, and like you just said, it keeps things riled up. Right. And so something that could have been squashed overnight, that's something you and I have discussed before, how when we were growing up, you could have gotten in a fight at school or something, and maybe even someone picked up the phone and called, maybe, your house phone. But for the most part, you got to leave that drama and come home and have a respite from all of that, have a break. And usually by the time you went to school the next day, there was so much more clarity, or people were over it, or you were able to get over it quicker, These kids need that opportunity, because otherwise, they get beat down. These things are going on and on. They say things in the pressure of the moment. These babies are immature. They're not ready to be able to say, and then they have these things written down.
Black and white.
On a
rest
text
of your
message.
life.
Yes. And there it is, and you're getting screenshots of what your kids said. And, as much as we can, what safeguards can we put in place for these kids that just are not ready to handle that yet? And that it's okay. You're not alone. I can tell you, if you feel like you're alone, you're not alone.
One more thing I would say is you can always take it away. So I've heard many a mom say, well, we've already done it. We've already given it to him. So let's go back to point one. That's your phone.
Yeah.
You can take it away.
Yeah.
And it's you feel like for some reason as a parent, you just, I've already given it to him. Yes, you can take it away.
Yeah.
If they have shown you that they're not responsible with it, if they have shown you that they're not mature with it, then you have every right to say, we're no longer going to have it.
Yeah.
And when I see that you're back to a place where you have more maturity, then maybe we'll talk about getting it back.
Yeah.
But Mama, do not feel like you cannot walk in and go, you know what? This was too much too soon. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry that I gave it to you too soon, but I'm going to take it back now. And we're going to go back to that place where you don't have to carry this weight anymore because you're not ready for it.
Good. I love that. So we had a mom that messaged and said, she needed help getting her kids to eat more green veggies. And listen, we have to get creative about this. So, I make smoothies, and I try and hide some spinach in there. Yeah.
And they don't know it?
Well, sometimes they do, because then actually they didn't know it. And then they went to a friend's house, and that mom made smoothies, and those smoothies were pink and yellow, and mine are brown.
You got called out by another mom's
Yeah,
recipe.
so they were like, why are these so dark? I know. So that kind of got me. So I'll do things like make zucchini muffins that have like zucchini and applesauce in them and things like that, you know. And then, oh, guys, I mean, I don't love to have battles at dinner time. So I try not to do that too much. But our rule is you have to try a bite. And what we have found is that over time, then they start eating more and more bites. Like, but I think I read one time that it's like 21 exposures or something before they may like something.
That's what I was thinking. Like, really, honestly, if you could just start getting him to do it one bite at a meal, you know, in a routine fashion,
Right.
that really at some point they might actually figure out it's not that bad.
Well, and for some kids, they like the science behind it, you know, so if you tell them like, hey, this is why this is good, this is how it helps you, these are the vitamins, some kids really get into that, you know.
Listen, I love when I go to the pediatrician because I feel like when she says things to Abby, we come home and Abby's like, Mom, I need to eat more vegetables.
Exactly.
My doctor said to.
I know.
Maybe you just need to like call your doctor ahead of time and be like, all right, lay it on thick today. Yeah. They need vegetables. Maybe that would help.
That's good. So when you were growing up, did you ever try and like hide vegetables or like pretend that you ate them? No?
No, and I remember I didn't like all the vegetables, and we definitely ate them in our house. We did have vegetables on our plate. I don't know that I loved them all, but I don't remember like hiding them or even getting in trouble for not eating them.
Okay, so we would have to eat green peas, and I still don't really like green peas. I'll kind of eat a little bit, but I don't know. I just don't get into them.
Peas and carrots, I love it. It's my favorite.
My mom would make them, and and you know, we used to drink a glass of milk at dinner. Did y'all drink a glass of milk?
No, we did not.
You didn't? Oh my gosh. I felt like, you know, you were supposed to drink a glass of milk at dinner. Anyway, so I would put some peas in my mouth and I'd spit them into my milk.
And then, like, just not drink all the milk so they were still, like, floating at the bottom?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. You know when she poured your milk out, she saw them.
Well, so if I had a chance to clear my plate, then I would take care of it. But I did get caught a couple of times when she was dumping my glass out.
That was hilarious. My peas always got really mushy. I couldn't spit them out. Once you put them in your mouth, they, like, became mush.
No, I think mine stayed like little bullets. And so
they
I just,
did?
Yeah, just boop, 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 back into the cup.
Maybe we cooked them wrong in our house. We, like, kill them. Kill the peas. Mush them up.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, I think forever that has been the struggle of moms to try and get their kids to eat green
Did your parents
vegetables.
ever put Cheese Whiz on top of like broccoli and stuff to make you eat it?
No, but that's what Jeremy's mom did. She put cheese sauce on everything. And so when we got married and I started serving vegetables that did not have cheese, he was like, what is happening? Why are we eating plain broccoli? This is rude.
Listen, there's no way that Cheese Whiz is real, right?
No, 100%. I think it's like 1 degree away from plastic. You know, it's like, yeah, it's not great.
So maybe choose your cheese sauces carefully if you're going to try and do that.
Yeah. And I did air fry some asparagus the other day, and the 2 big kids didn't like it as much. And then Caroline, who does not usually eat asparagus, chomped it down. Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah. So
yes.
you never know. So it was good for me just to keep experimenting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we also had another mom that wrote in. She says her daughter bites her fingernails till they bleed, and she doesn't know how to make it stop.
Honestly, that would drive me nuts. So I had a friend in high school, and it was a nervous habit. She would tear at her cuticles around her fingers. It just, you know, we'd be sitting in class, and she was tearing. Did you do that?
I still do it.
Do you still do it?
Is that a nervous habit? Is that why I'm doing it?
It's a nervous habit, and hers would crack and bleed and
Mine do
stuff.
too.
Yes, it was terrible, but
I'm nervous, and I don't know it.
I think it's a nervous
Oh
habit.
my goodness. No, I think about it all the time. My cuticles, I always think about them.
What? Well,
yeah,
you're
I do
doing
it all
now.
I do it all the time.
Well, I was going to say, for hope for the mom is that she grew out of it eventually, but here's Rebecca at 40, still picking at her cuticles.
Listen, here's my idea, okay?
Okay.
Get some of those medical gloves.
Yeah.
You know, you can buy big boxes of those.
Yeah.
Girl, just put
Just
those
make
on
them
her
wear 'em.
hand.
Yeah.
Put some duct tape around it. She can't get it off.
100%. That's a genius idea.
Is that like child abuse? I
No,
don't know. Is
it's
that
great.
okay?
So my little sister, when we were growing up, she was still sucking her thumb like late into elementary, and she begged me to help her, you know, stop sucking her thumb. So Rebecca, I mean, we did everything under the sun. Like we would dip her thumbs in cayenne pepper.
Yes.
You know, we'd put like vinegar on them. We taped them. We did all kinds of things. You know, and eventually she grew out of it, but we were not afraid to try everything.
You know what's so funny though, now that you're saying that, like it being a nervous habit? I don't know, like maybe talk to your kid and like really try to figure out, is there something happening that like you can't handle or you're nervous about, or I don't know. That's actually really interesting to me, that maybe when our kids do some of that stuff that there's more going on. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and then it becomes a habit, right, where they're just doing it all the time. So Caleb, he picks at his skin. And so he gets these little bumps all over his arms and stuff like that. And I took him to the dermatologist and I was like, what is going on? And she looked at him and she said, you are doing this to yourself. Stop it. And it was so helpful to get the doctor on my side.
Yes.
So that she was the one to tell him, because I thought he was having a rash or something weird. And she said, no, you are doing this. You stop it.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love that. So again, the doctor, listen, just take that kid to the doctor for everything.
Get
vegetables
reinforcements.
And anxious ticks. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last one that we thought was really kind of funny that we'll just share about was a working mom. We love you, working moms.
Yes.
Like, seriously, I don't know how you do it. Bless your heart. Y'all are amazing.
Yes.
But when you come home from work, you got to fix dinner still.
Yeah.
And so she was just like, help me out. What are some like easy recipes?
Yes.
So what do you got, Kate?
Okay, so, I was late to the air fryer club, but now I'm in. Okay, I'm in on it. So let me tell you, you buy a bag of frozen sweet potato fries and you buy some chicken nuggets and you put one in one bucket and the other in another bucket.
Well, because you got the bougie air fryer. I don't know anybody else that has a 2-basket air fryer. You're the only one.
When Jeremy first got that, I was like, this is way too big. This is out of control. And now I'm totally into it. Yes.
You
is
love
awesome.
it.
I use it for everything. Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
So, that's an easy. The other thing is like, I don't know, don't hate on the pre-prepped things. Like we have a thing just in Rockwall, the minced meal.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever been?
No. And I've been meaning to go try that
yes.
out because, there's all kinds of great meal prep things. And then do a roast, buy a rotisserie chicken, just figure out what you can do that can be done ahead of time. One thing Rebecca and I both do is when we go to Costco and buy stuff, sometimes we'll just spend time like cooking meat.
Yes.
So I go to Costco and I'll buy a rotisserie chicken and I go ahead and debone it and pull all the meat off and throw that in the freezer. Or buy the ground beef and go ahead and cook up all the ground beef. Or buy sausage patties and cook up a whole bunch. Because the meat is always the hardest part of the meal, don't you think?
For sure. And so what I do with my Costco meat, I don't cook all my hamburger meat, but I package it into smaller baggies.
Okay.
And I squish it flat, so it's like a paper plate.
Okay.
And then I freeze it like that. And when you take that out of the freezer and put it in a sink of cold water, it thaws like that.
It
is super
smart.
fast. So I was going to say spaghetti, tacos, things like that.
Yeah.
Just if you'll do the prep ahead of time with your meat before you freeze it, it makes the cooking so much quicker.
Yeah, agree.
And then I'm on the Instapot train.
Okay.
So I have the Instapot and I love it because it takes a frozen chicken breast and cooks it in like 25 minutes.
Really?
It is so fast.
Okay.
So some of my favorite recipes are frozen chicken breasts that I put in my Instapot and then I pour different sauces over them. So one of our favorites is that salsa verde.
Yeah.
Sauce from the grocery store. I pour that over it and sprinkle some seasoning in it like cumin, salt, and pepper.
Yeah.
And then you put the lid on that thing and you cook your chicken and it shreds apart so easy. You can make soft tacos. You can make enchiladas.
I love that.
And then you can freeze whatever you don't use.
Yeah.
Then once you've eaten, like half of it out of there for the night, you can also add chicken stock to it and it becomes like a chicken tortilla soup. So then you have a meal for the next night.
That is great.
So I'm telling you, chicken breast in the Instapot, you could even put just regular salsa on it. And that would make a delicious taco too. You can make so many things in the Instapot. It's a winner.
I love that. The last thing I would add there is each kid needs to know how to make a meal. Even if it's, this kid can make grilled cheese and tomato soup, and this kid can make mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, and this kid knows how to make sandwiches, right? If they each know how to make one, then you can say, hey, you're up tonight. So that you are not having to make all the meals. You shouldn't have to make all the meals, Mama. And your kids may be too young for that at this point. But at some point, when you can, just let a kid take the time. And that's what's hard is the prep time. But train them, teach them how to own something so that they can. Caleb is the pizza kid. So on a night when I don't feel like cooking, he knows how to make the pizzas. And he makes pizza.
Are they from Frozen?
From Frozen. Oh, it's not like he's spinning dough in the air.
Oh my gosh, I was like, well, tell us what he does to make these pizzas. You said he takes them out of the freezer and he puts it in the oven.
Yes, but he knows how to not burn them. He knows how to cut them up and give them to the kids and put
That is
fruit with
awesome.
them. You know, he knows what I expect.
Oh, she has fruit.
Yeah.
Y'all, Kate is winning at the healthy food game. Green on the plate, fruit on the side.
I'm trying.
I love it.
I try. Lydia is mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, you know, and Caroline, we're working on trying to figure out what her thing is.
I'm going to
She's
give Caroline
at
a
the
break.
helper
I think she's
stage.
okay. Yeah, she
Yeah.
don't need to be cooking yet.
No, she's at the helper stage, so she's learning. But, you know, they each know how to make something. And so if I'm tired, I can call on them for help. And I'm a semi-working mom, so,
Yes.
you know, I
Yes.
need to have the help, and they're ready to help.
And listen, when all else fails, cereal for dinner.
100%.
You buy
cereal for
one
dinner.
box of that
Yes.
sugary fun cereal that your
Yeah.
kids love,
Yes.
and one night a week they all get sugar cereal.
I love that. Yes, they will love you for it.
Moms, this was so fun. Thank you so much for sharing your questions with us. We will definitely do this again because we know we didn't get to cover all of them. But, you know, sometimes it just feels good to hear another mom talk about what's going on in your life and
Yep.
just give you some ideas that you've never thought about. We love you. We're here for you. We're cheering you on. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, moms. Gather Moms is part of a whole community of women who mom in any way, and we want you to connect to that community. Go to gathermoms.com to learn how to join a Gather group.